Okay, welcome first of all. I'm going to go through the North American SPL and just go through the teams here and give you a bit of a quick breakdown. Now, as a heads up, obviously this is an official Smite high-res production, so there will be some language, more than likely, knowing me off air and away from the main focal camera. So the first thing I'm going to start off with, buy your fucking tickets to the World Championships, please. I'm sick of having to promote it now. Just buy the fucking tickets, okay? That's why that screen's there in front of you right now. And we can move on past that and get onto the main show. But if you want to go to Worlds, you'll see some of these guys here, and yeah, it'll be fun. Woo, lots of funs. And if you do buy your ticket because you watch this, please come and see me at the World Championships and tell me it was because you watched this video. Okay? Anyway, on to the game. Let's go. Start of the season. Well, let's have a little look through the teams here. We've got Luminosity at the top all the way down to the Randozos. Well, Randozos at the bottom. It's not a big shock, but look at the placements of some of the other teams. It's very interesting. SoaR, Denial, Allegiance, above Eager, above Envy, above Enemy? You what? The fuck? What's that about? Well, let's go through exactly what happened. This is the first little thing that we'll go through. We'll get to that in a second. Once this bit loads. Randozos. First of all, obviously, the bio's not always going to be perfect because, you know, things go wrong with the site and such. However, these Randozos, boys, honestly, for me personally, these did not deserve to get where they ended up. Like, if you look at the standings here, 1 point, 1 frickin' point. The record, you know, 1 split, 6 losses. Feels frickin' bad, man. Feels frickin' bad. But the problem is, when you look through the competition they're against, it kind of makes sense as why this happened, but their actual play and ability throughout the scene this split has been a lot stronger than I've seen of any 8th place team in North America in any single SPL we've ever done. Like, these guys actually have a lot of talent on their side, and I feel very disappointed for them and very sad that they've come in at a season time where NA is just the strongest it's probably ever looked in terms of the regular season anyway. So it's very difficult for them to pick up wins overall here. And it's very, very hard for what they've had to put up with the rest of the league. They started things off pretty well against Envy. Now, to be fair, obviously that 1 split at the start of the season was like, hey, look at this. But every single game against all these teams, there's been so much potential from them and the chance for them to win. I feel like their mid-late game, they do struggle a little bit. Their early game is fantastic. Now, the mid-late game is where they struggle for the simple reason that they've probably not played it that much at the higher level. And yeah, you can say, you know, you can do it in scrims and stuff, but when it's actually live, you can make small little mistakes that'll come back to haunt you. And teams will exploit you for that as well. So it comes back really, really painful on the Randozos with how the season progressed after that. Obviously, Envy, for that split as well, like I actually say, if Envy played them where Enemy did, I think that'd be a different story. I actually think Randozos probably could have lost every single game. And that's not to discredit Randozos. It's more to give credit to Envy of how their season progressed. But we'll get to Envy a little bit later on. Anyway, some just made a reference to like Jackson. It's like the Jacksonville Jaguars versus Cleveland Browns. I can see that in a lot of ways. And yeah, I mean, I really do like the team of Randozos. I hope these guys stay together, and I hope they put on a bit of a show at LAN. But with them coming to LAN as well, when you actually see the roster here, they're kind of all new to the LAN stage as well. And when you're all new to the LAN stage, you're going to struggle. But maybe you just go with the flow and shit just kicks in. It's going to be great. Like, if everything goes really well, they'd be like, whoa. And when I say that, if everything goes really well, if these guys just come in with like, fuck it, we can just do what we do and hopefully it'll work out. There's a lot of teams in NA that have LAN jitters in terms of performance not going as well at LAN as they do online professionally. So they have a small shot, I want to say, but hopefully they can just like stick together, get to LAN, meet each other, become best buds, give each other high fives and stuff, and then move on to next split in next year in Season 4 and actually start making a go of things, because I think they could actually really be a solid team. At the moment, though, you know, obviously they're bottom, and it's understandable. It's understandable. Next up is going to be, as the screen loads, well, the 7th team in North America. 7 out of 8. I don't even think that was possible. But it clearly is. The one time that I actually rate them as the #1 team in North America is the one time they go exactly where I've rated them every other split so far, which was 7th and 8th. Biggest issues with this team, and what's going on with them, if we actually go down to them, you can see them on my list here, is all their enemy games here. If you actually look through those wins as well, let's just take that very first win that they got against Eager at the very beginning of this split, and look at what happened in those games. Now, it doesn't say this on this, obviously, I'm just keeping it very simple for you guys to see. But the one problem they've got here is that against Eager, DJ Pernicus DC'd, and I'd actually say Eager were in a very dominant position in that game, in game 1. Up against enemy, and DJ ran out of pauses, Eager ran out of pauses, there was no pauses left, enemy are not allowed to use their pauses for him to get back in, and so Eager had to finish that game 4v5, so enemy went on to win that game. Not a real shock. And on top of that, there's also going to be the game 2 where DJ Pernicus didn't return, and we had Zapman playing jungle, and they brought in a substitute for that game, which was Wowie, I believe. And yeah, you can see exactly, like, if you take away that Eager default win, basically, it was a kind of a void win just because it wasn't the full Eager lineup. Look at how the performances have gone throughout the season. The only team they actually beat was Randozos. It's not the greatest performance out of them either, when you look at it overall as well. Now, some people may be asking me as well, why is Order picked and Chaos picked here, and why does Order versus Chaos matter? Well, it's actually funny because the map is not identical. Remember that. The map is not identical. There's slight nuances in favour of one team over another in the map, but not only that, in picks and bans as well. Depending how strong the gods are right now, in terms of how dominant the first couple of picks can be, it can be beneficial to you to go first or second. Enemy's decision here was to go first overall. Now, granted, what it should be around is like a 7-7 here in terms of picks of Order versus Chaos, but at the same time, you will vary to one way or another if you actually have that choice. When you get like 7 or 8 or even up to potentially 9, you could be getting thrown onto that by the opposition team a lot as well. But if you're anything above that, you definitely side in the way of that side of the map. So it tells me that enemy really care about that first pick. But by doing that, at the moment, it's not worked out for him. Now, I will say that this first pick that they've got here of Order all the time, they did run without Panda Cat for most of this season. And by running without Panda Cat for most of the season, they wanted to make sure Fairno, their substitute hunter, got a priority pick. And you can see that in some of their picks and bans as well, in terms of how often they pick Sol overall, just to get him comfortable in lane and have him he's uncomfortable on. Now, what that actually did was that put enemy at a deficit for a large portion of this split in the early stages of the game. It put them in a deficit because they were losing a lot of free picks. They were basically giving their opposition, because they were picking Order for this, they were giving their opposition multiple chances of picking up 2 awesome gods on the Chaos side in the first section of ban him. And not only that, they got the counter pick against them as well, which didn't really work out very well for these boys whatsoever. Enemy, I think, can come back. Now, I'm not going to put it down just to picks and bans with this split, just so you know. It's not down to just picks and bans. It's down to the team as a whole. There's some issues going on with this team right now. There's something off between Chaos, Pain to Beyond, and Shattered. That trio is not working out in the mid lane right now. Something's not right. Whether somebody's just not playing up to standard overall, or it's choice of gods and like the picks overall, it's not really worked out. You've seen things try to be mixed up between this team a little bit more from enemy, but it's not worked out for them this split whatsoever. And this roster has a lot of potential. Now, whether you've also got to take into account whether or not what actually happens in those games. And I can't show you all the KDAs here because I've got them on other sheets, but I don't really want to show those. But you can see like how the KDAs are against some of the other teams here. Obviously, exclude the Randozos for this one, but look at that. 0.5, 0.3, 0.5. And to be fair, against Envy, 0.5 and 0.3 is pretty damn low. It's not a great performance coming out from them whatsoever. Those three are just not working right now. I don't know what it is. Maybe they've got a bit of an ego to themselves now. And this is me just speculating. Just to be clear, this is speculation. Maybe it's a bit of an ego. The one time that people actually recognize them as a contender is the moment that ego kicks in, and that ego fucks them in the asshole. Hard. And then they start losing. Some of it will come down to not having Panda Cat, though. Let's give him credit there as well. No Panda Cat means lack of communication. Panda Cat coming back and getting stomped straight away. Well, that's down to more than likely not playing too much, not understanding the meta, not understanding the picks and bans and stuff like that. Like, you were away for a while, you're going to play bad. You all know that. Whenever you come back into the game, you've had a little break. It don't work out great for you. That's just the way it is. It takes a while. So, enemy, sat in 7th. I don't think you can count them out going to the land stages, though. I don't think their season is done just yet. However, the other angle is, have the teams finally worked out how enemy play? And do they do it themselves now to outplay them? Time will tell when we get to the group stages. So, we'll see. We'll see. But enemy, definitely not a great performance from him. Unable to get splits as well is the biggest thing there. Like, not even being able to take a win off any of these teams is a huge thing. The win against Eager is one of those, as I mentioned. The win against the Randozos, we can just call that a default win. And the Eager Void. And then you've got no splits. Like, that's not the enemy we're used to seeing, is it? The enemy we're used to seeing is like, alright, maybe they'll lose game 1, but then they'll work out where they went wrong and come back in game 2 and find that win. They've not been doing it, though. It's not right. Rip enemy. If you are an enemy fan, though, you know, you've still got chances. Things could get a little bit better. And then we go on as well to Envy. There's the next one up. 7 points overall in the league. But points still means they're in 6th here. They've got 1 win, 4 splits. Now, this is the thing about splits here, right? If you actually see the lack of splits on enemy that we were talking about, Envy's actually a team that splits for days. As you can see, look at my little side notes here. You get to read them with me. But it's been a pretty good performance from Envy overall this season, how they've been going. Obviously, if we go to actual there, I should actually just delete these as I go. Boop, boop. As we go to Envy here, Oceans, Polar Bear Mike, Kiki, Skeleton, Cyclone. Well, let's go for experience of these guys first of all as you look at them. Kiki and Cyclone Spin, two of probably like two of the top players actually in North America in terms of how much they've accomplished so far. They've been #1 seeds multiple times. They've both played multiple roles as well, trying to make things work when the team has had dynamic issues. And now they've kind of defaulted back to where they originally started. Kiki So Cheeky was rated for a very long time as one of the best mid laners in North America because he was so good and he worked well in the dynamic of the team that he was in at the time. But now he's got new people with him. Skeleton in the jungle, been around the scene a little bit, struggled last split with a lot of deaths, but that's because he was an initiator for the most part, and his sacrifices paid off for his team. That was their kind of game plan with that, you know. Let Skeely go in and die, and then turn it around based off that. But they've also brought in Polar Bear Mike and Oceans now. Now Oceans, that transfer was very hot and interesting from a lot of people there, because everyone was like, what face? Envy? When he was on the side of Allegiance last split. His rookie season was great. His rookie split was great. And this split again, he's starting to step up to the plate once more. Now the dynamic of this team has completely changed. This isn't the Envy that did that 2-minute surrender that was a shit show. This is the Envy. This is a new Envy. It's a new and improved version in a lot of ways than that from last split. They all seem to be on the same page. They're all kind of having fun with this as well. And it's also the dynamic of this team has changed as well in terms of Cyclone Spin. Now everyone remembered Cyclone Spin. He was the hard carry from the solo lane and everyone looked at him. And the team of Envy back then used to work around him and play to his strengths. And actually like make him look even better just because they did that. Now the problem is that the meta's not really in that style anymore. And other solo laners have now caught up as well, you know. All the other solo laners have kind of caught up in skill level, and assassins not as viable anymore, even mage assassins like the Al Kwong and things. You can't really run them in the solo lane anymore just because of how the meta is right now. And in doing that, that puts Cyclone Spin in an awkward spot. That's why we saw Cyclone last split, though, switch to a different role to try and continue being that carry. Didn't work out, though. So he's come back to solo, and he's just doing the graft that is needed of a solo laner to support his team and allow them to execute things correctly. And they've turned their attention more now towards Oceans, and if it's not just Oceans though, it has been a team as a whole that is starting to make things better. I like the pressure that they're starting to put on the duo lane though overall. Oceans is getting a lot of babysitting from Skeleton as the time's gone on, and I think that's a really good call from them overall. I think it's really wise for them to actually bump into Oceans, allow Cyclone to 1v1 because his performance is still good, he can farm pretty well, and he's pretty good in the 1v1 scenarios too, and if they do pressure him in that lane, well that's fine because Oceans is going to get ahead in the other lane because your jungler's over there the whole time as well. So yeah, good performance from Envy overall. They're still not exactly where they want to be in the standings if you look at those, you know. I mean, they're still third from bottom, but a lot of people had them bottom 2. I had them bottom 2 as well. If we take Enemy out, they would still be bottom 2. Enemy's just like that very weird situation where you're like, that's an irregularity, that one. It just doesn't make sense. That makes sense though if Enemy were removed, the Envy would still be there. But they've done a lot. Like finding that many splits is very, very important to them overall. Next up, as we go on through them, actually I'm just going to check if there was anything other I'd like to mention about that. Yeah, that's a funny thing. When I say splits for days in regards to Envy, well look at that. They've actually only lost to the top 2 teams. Only LG and SoaR did they lose both games to. Every other game they at least split. That's pretty fucking good, right? That's pretty insane. Now, if you look at this, this is how close. This is the sixth team. That the only two teams that they actually completely lost to was Luminosity and SoaR. They're sixth? What does that tell you? That just shows you how close North America is, that a team that can do that. That's a pretty good situation to be in, really. If you're only losing to the top two. And we'll get to that in Europe later on in the other episode. But yeah, Envy. Not bad from them overall. They're continuing to work things on. And we'll see. Next up, though, is a lot of fan favourites, Eager. Well, I've been saying this for a little while regarding Eagers. We'll bring them up on screen as well. Goodbye, Envy. We'll miss you. SoaR Best, DJ Pernicus, Devios. One of the only teams in North America. One of the only teams. There was another one or two, I think, that didn't change. With all the roster apocalypses going on, this team sat together through thick and thin, formed just after Worlds, and made a really good run previously. This split, different story though. Now down in 5th. What's been going wrong with Eager? Well, let's go through exactly what we know about them first of all. Well, I've always been saying this for quite a while now, but they are a very cerebral team. They think very far outside the box and try and push the meta in a direction they like. And it's not necessarily they push it in a direction they like, they move it in the they actually play to a style that they think is best in terms of overall god picks, in terms of itemization, in terms of positioning and placement on the map of what they want to do. Very cerebral. The problem is that they're sometimes so far ahead of themselves that the other teams are ignoring that and going with what's tried, true and tested, and it's not worked out for them in one way. Their only losses to the top two. Sorry, losses to the top two, but they also did lose one over as well, which I'm incorrect about. I don't know why I said losses to the top two. So, Enemy and Eager. Yeah, losses to the top two, so I am right. Let's discredit that Eager loss there against Enemy. We mentioned why that was. DJ DC'd game 1, and game 2, Zapman had to jungle because DJ wasn't able to come back. So if we scrape away that loss off them there, and just look at the rest, they've only lost to the top 2 again here. Did find 2 splits as well, and it's pretty much what you'd expect. Now, the one thing that I noticed, and we talked about the cerebral side, is the chaos picks. Look how many picks up. Why does that say 2? I'm an idiot. I am special needs. So, out of all their games, they picked chaos 10 times. 10 times! 10! Now, when we discussed cerebral teams a second ago, the 10 times actually shows me that they're really thinking that Chaos is stronger now. And a lot of teams actually say Chaos feels a little bit better for the priority picks. But Eager recognized this very, very early on and started off. And just look at that run here. If you just highlight that run there, that's all Chaos in a row. Where they were either getting it because the enemy team gave it them, or at the same time, they were also allowed to select it for themselves as well. They want that second pick to get themselves the better compositions. They want the stronger picks overall. But not necessarily the stronger picks in the meta, the stronger picks that they think are valuable for them is the biggest thing there. The problem is, though, is that it's not... Actually, am I even mathing right? I'm even worse. It's 212. God, 214. And then it's 1214. Okay. I'm very smart today. I'm sorry, guys. Look at me trying to give advice and stuff, and it's not working. I'm an idiot, but it's fine. So yeah, they've played Chaos a lot because they're looking at the second pick option, and it's really predominant that they're going to do that and look for it. Funny thing is though, even though on order they've only played 2 games there, you can see that that one doesn't count. Well, they actually won their other game that they played order, but they prefer the Chaos side of things overall. Okay, these guys though, when we've watched them play and what's been going on with them in this split, they're not exactly pulling off what they want to do, and that's the big key here. They're finding the splits, but they're not being clean. They're not as consistent with what they've been doing. Teams seem to recognize what their plan was going to be and either destroy it in the first game and then either come back and answer back with the correct decision afterwards to deal with that. Or the other thing is that they get off and have a game plan in mind. And we've seen this out of them quite a few times where they'll go in with a game plan and they'll execute it and they'll find the win. And they'll go into game 2 with the same game plan, try and execute it, and then get told, nah bro, that's not going to happen. Zap's still been Zap for the most part in the duo lane, still very strong and consistent. Aurora's been Aurora. I think Aurora's been very consistent and strong as well for the split. Best and DJ have both struggled for different reasons. DJ's god selection sometimes is to the strength of the team, I think, is what the plan's been there. But if he's not got off to a good start at the beginning of the game, he started to fall behind and slack a little bit in terms of what he can actually put out for the team. And the best has always been a god pool issue. If you remember Scylla from last split, his Scylla was OP. But the problem is that they don't want to run Scylla right now. And the reason they don't want to run Scylla right now is because Power Pot's not in the game anymore. You can't get it to level 10. And the reason they were running Scylla all the time is because he could just take Power Pot and blow people up from the early game onwards, and he was very, very good at that god. He likes to sit back the best for the most time, get his positioning. I'd say Best has got one of the best positioning in North America in terms of the mid lane play. The problem is that he can't really do that on some of the other mages that he wants to play with the composition and the way Ego run things. So it's not worked out for him having to switch things up. Now he's trying to go to Giannis as well, and Giannis hasn't really worked out for him either. I mean, it's worked out a little bit for him for the most part. I'm not going to discredit that, but he's not been able to perform the same game-ending results that we've seen out of his Scylla before, with a perfect route on 3 into a crush of 2, and 2 people die. You can't really do that with Giannis as much. It's a little bit more difficult to connect, but he's been facilitating a little bit more of the team with that. So yeah, Eagers kind of struggled this split. I don't think they're done just yet though. Like, we even saw that they were one of the first teams we saw in the SPL as well when these new reinforced Greaves that came out, the OP Greaves of Doom, like, they all ran it. And I think they were right to run it, and I think it makes sense. Some people may look back and be like, what was that about? Come on, we all know it kind of does. They're a very cerebral team. You can't count them out right now. Obviously, the Luminosity invade was very interesting. Didn't work out though, sadly enough. And it came back to haunt them in that games, just because they were a little bit delayed on getting there. I think they just didn't recognise the Wrath. But overall, Eager still have the opportunity to go to Worlds. They still have the opportunity to be at Super Regionals as well. Super Regionals, first of all. I still have them on that list of probably going to Super Regionals. Even though, when you look at the other teams that are above them here, I still have them ranked up a little bit higher than where they are right now, probably above Allegiance right now. No discredit to Allegiance here. I just think Eagers have a very bad season, but the problem is that they need to fix some of the problems they've got in terms of how they're playing these games out, and their god selections a little bit more overall. Best god pull is very, very limited, and it's not that you have to be, it's not terrible that your god pool is limited, but at the same time, if you can get pigeonholed into a certain type of god, it makes it very easy for a team to play around. And when the best was just known for Scylla pretty much, and then next up it was Giannis, it's kind of like, you know what to expect from this team every single time. You know DJ's the one trying to make the plays, so if you can shut DJ down early, it kind of makes the team crumble a little bit. You know Aurora likes to go and roam if things are going well and look for solo lane ganks to try and help out a little bit more with Devios, and Zapman's happy to free farm and then turn up big when he gets his items online. It's the same old Eager. You can't count him out though. Do not count out Eager. It's been a rough split for them. I do expect a little bit more out of them going forward. Moving on from Eager then, we'll move on next to our boys of Allegiance. There they are, all in their flesh. Well, 2 of them without pictures now. But my, oh my, what an interesting team. So, Stealth, Weaken, and Incom. Let's just take those 3 first of all. They all split apart, they all came together, they all split apart, they all came together. Through different things, like Incom and Weaken have played together, Weaken and Stealth have played together before. Things didn't work out for them, and all of a sudden, they come together one more time with Venenu and Cope, now that we lost Mighty Pocket and Lasses. Rip boys, you will be missed by the scene. You're still in our hearts though. But Cope and Venenu have both come in. Now a lot of people have given Cope a lot of shit in this season for not having a very god pool, not looking very good in the scene. K, still a rookie, right? And when you talk about North America and you talk about the solo laners, there is an insane amount of strong solo laners in North America. Like, think of the lowest solo laner you can think of, and sadly it probably is Cope on that list in terms of what you've seen out of him performance-wise. It's so difficult. It's so difficult in the solo lane in North America right now. I'd say North America's solo lane is the strongest in the world right now for competition. Like, guaranteed. Strongest in the world for competition in terms of solo ability. And Cope's kind of walked into that role and been like, alright guys, I'm going to go up against some of the best solo laners in the world week after week after week after week. And I'm going to do my thing. But in doing that, I mean, let's look at him. In doing that, what did they do? They managed to pick up pace. They're the only team to beat SoaR as well, right? only team to beat SoaR. So Cope has done what he needed to do. He's still learning, okay? He's still learning. He's still growing in that role, and I think that's a very important thing for Allegiance to recognise as well, and the fans as well, because I think the fans will look at this roster and be like, "Where's the weak link right now? It's Cope. It's Cope. Get rid of him. He's terrible. Bring back anybody. Bring back fucking Game Hunter. Put Game Hunter in there. Get him over from Europe. We need somebody better." I don't think you need to do that at all. You just need to let that kid grow. On top of that, he's got great synergy with Weaken. Weaken and him are boys. That's already been published. That's one of the reasons he's on this team, is because Weaken and him know each other really well, and Weaken can trust him. And one of the things you need in a team is trust in your teammates. You have to be able to trust them, so when you go in, they'll follow you up. And if you don't go in, you know they won't, or they'll make the correct decision at the right time for you. That's very important to them. Weaken in the jungle, same old Weaken. Pretty much, he's still doing the same sort of flares that we've always seen Weaken do. He has his good games, he has his bad games too, and generally on his bad games is where we see some really strange stuff happen. I'd actually say some of those losses where you look back and go, what the fuck happened to Allegiance then? It's like, huh? And it's basically down to, when I look, it's always like Weaken is underleveled for some reason. It doesn't really make too much sense. Loving the fact Stealth, though, is back on a roster again. Stealth seems to have been, for a little while now, a whipping boy in North America, because everyone seems to underestimate what he brings to a team, overlook him a lot of times, look at the other mid laners and go, MLC Stealth is pretty weak. They felt like the rest of the teams almost carried him a lot of the time in terms of what he actually brings to the team. Kind of sat there and went, yeah, Stealth's a weak link. Oh, we're going to replace someone? Ah, fuck it, let's just kick Stealth and get somebody else in. Everything will work out great. And that's kind of true. From what people have been saying in the scene. But I don't think it's been true about what Stealth has been doing this season, or at all. Like, Stealth is still playing the way Stealth does. Pretty much consistent in the mid lane. Positioning is where he lets himself down a little bit, I will say. Although he probably has... Sorry, not positioning. His position is actually pretty good. His damage output is probably a little bit lower than you'd like from a mid laner overall. He's a little bit tentative sometimes and a little bit worried about getting engaged on, which I can understand. But what he has got is probably the best Giannis in the world. Like, hands down. I think his Giannis is fucking insane. This kid knows how to use the portals. He knows how to use the thresholds to support his team and be aggressive with them as well. He's got some fantastic snipes as well. I actually think Stealth is really solid in the mid lane right now. He's going to just be a little bit careful because he can get himself caught out a little bit. That's something that's why I'm a bit 50-50 on his positioning overall there. And his Cuckoo, to be fair, Cuckoo Khan is very similar to his Giannis in terms of it's all about position, just dropping it at the right time. Ults can be off the mark, but the worst thing about playing Cuckoo Khan for you guys at home who watch people like Stealth, right, is that you all call people out for missing an ultimate, yeah? Well, there's a lot of ultimates that get fired in a game that get beadsed or cancelled out, okay? But a long delay, large ultimate that only goes in a straight line that you can't aim, and you actually have to aim before you fire it, and it still takes a second or two to still frickin' move through the map. It's a lot easier to miss one of those than something like Whirlwind of Rage and Steel or Desert Fury. How many Desert Furies have you seen where someone smashed someone with a Desert Fury and only hit one spear and no one really talks shit about it? Because it's like, oh, it's Desert Fury. Well, it's the same sort of thing as a Cold Ultimate. The only difference is that Desert Fury does a lot less damage overall for the most part. And then you got Incom. Incom's been pretty solid for the most part. He's had a lot to deal with this split. Obviously, going back to the roots with Weaken again, which is a great synergy. Working on synergy with Stealth as well in the mid lane. But also having to facilitate Venenu in the scene as well. Now, Venenu, obviously a rookie hunter, happy to learn. Happy to help teach as well, which is really good for him. And he's also going into a position that is pretty nasty as well in North America, which is the AD carry position. I'm pretty sure if you go down the AD carry list right now, Venenu's not in the top 3 by a long shot. There is just too many North American hunters that are very, very strong right now. And I'll actually say I'm pretty much saying, yeah, I will say North America hunters overall are stronger than European hunters in terms of depth of the scene. And Venenu is like one of those, is on that list once again that has to go up against multiple people over and over. Just like Cope has had to do in the solo lane. And when you look at those two, the fact that these two rookies have stepped in and managed to put them into this position above all these teams is absolutely blindingly good. Got to give credit as well, I guess, to Weaken and to Incon and to MLC Stealth for helping these two guys transition into the SPL as well. It's been a really rough one for them. Now you can actually see as well, we go through Allegiance here. I can't do math again quite clearly. Like, I keep putting 2 and 12. What am I on? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's not even right. Like, what am I doing? That's not even right. I'm so confused. I'm an idiot. Sorry, guys. So yeah, as you can see, there's a little bit of favour here towards Chaos side overall, and that's probably just get more dominant picks for themselves once more. Chaos is a little bit preferred at the moment in terms of like picking order, just because there's a lot of strong things in the scene at the moment. But I think overall that's a really good thing. When you think about the only team to beat SoaR, the only team to beat SoaR, how's that even possible, man? How's that even possible? It's not possible. It's crazy. Next up, then, after we've gotten down through Allegiance, goodbye, we'll see you at LAN, is Denial. Once the page loads, there they are. Vetium, Shadow Q, Horrorwind, Homie FA, Benji. Now, if you classed a SoaR team that was supposedly registered as classed the Super Team, well, this is a team that on paper, if you take out young Shadow Q here, because like his last real big thing from Shadow Q was back in the Dignitas days. Take out young Shadow Q here, and let's go through the list of the other 4 members just to be clear. Vetium, Season 2 World Championship finalist. Benji, Season 2 World Championship finalist. Horrorwind and Homie FA went to DreamHack, got to finals. Like, that's a good performance on its own, just getting there. SoaR were on the up and up from that point before these two split away. That team was looking solid from SoaR, and then all these roster changes happen. So already, you know, you've got quality in these 4 members already. Then you add another cerebral mind from Shadow Q's point of view, which is somebody that tries to dictate and get in, not dictate, but add his experience and knowledge to the team. Decision making overall from Shadow Q can be suspect at times, where he doesn't recognise everything in the grand scheme of the picture of the map layout and where everybody is positioned. Like, he'll initiate a little bit too early sometimes, but that's fine. You can still see that there's a lot of talent in this, and it showed at the start of the season with how things went. If we go to Denial there, because I was about to go, yeah, see how it started at the start of the season? Loss. No. Wins for days. Great start. I mean, the one thing I will say about when we say, you know, great start to the season for them, and I said that, was it an easier start to the season for them? Is that why they look so good here, Denial, at the beginning? I mean, yeah, when you look at it, I guess, you know, Allegiance, they had the rookies playing with them for their very first split. Those little bit of, you know, nerves of playing the first time round. You've got Enemy. I mean, Enemy's not an easy game, though. Enemy did have a substitute, but Enemy looked like shit. And as the season progressed, you can kind of look back and go, yeah, Denial did beat them, and that was the road for death for Enemy, was this loss to Denial here. Was it Denial that actually put Enemy on that losing spree overall? Was it just like losing to Denial just broke them? Or was it something else? Was it the fact that, you know, just the start of the season, Enemy's just not that strong right now? And then after that, Denial get Randozos as well, so they get 6 wins in a row, which gives them 9 points already. And if we look at the actual standings here, 9 points, well, if you actually look how they ended up, they didn't get many more points, boys. They didn't get many more points. They got 2 points in the rest of the season. So, started great. Started absolutely great. Then they found the split against Envy. Couldn't take anything off Luminosity. Couldn't take anything off of SoaR. Did find a split against Eager, though, which was a big boon for them, I think, overall, and then how this season started and actually helped their standings as a whole. The start of the season really helped them, though. It really, really helped them. This team, as a whole, pretty well balanced. I think they can still do very good things coming to the Super Regionals. I don't know if I can. I mean, I guess I should class them as number 3 just because of their performances overall. I think they've actually clamped to number 3 because Eager has not done very well this split, and Enemy has just disappeared off the face of the earth for some reason, which has allowed Denial to get this comfortable 3rd spot. I think if the previous season Eager and Enemy played the same way they did previous split, then I think if Denial's performances so far this split that we've seen, they'd still end up about 4th or 5th overall here. But credits to Allegiance as well, obviously. Yeah, Denial had a great start to the season and it just went on from there. Great tear for them. Fantastic start. I have high hopes for them. I still think Benji is probably one of the best solo laners in North America. Very, very good individual skill there. I've seen him do shit that a lot of solo laners would be scared to do in a lot of situations, like turning 2v1s into a kill for himself when he's getting ganked and things like that. That have really helped him out too. You got Horiwind in the mid lane, who, to be fair, the biggest issue with Horiwind, and this is why when we get to Super Regionals, I'm really worried about Denial, and I should bring this up. And actually Homie FA to an extent as well. We saw them both on SoaR when they went to DreamHack. Horiwind really suffers with land nerves. He's like and Insta. But we can't call him and Insta here, so we're going to have to make up a new name for him. I don't know. Hori Lan Wind. Hori Lack of Lan. Hori Lack of Wind at Lan. I don't know. We'll find out. But yeah, Horiwind really struggled at LAN in terms of nerves and pressure that was put onto him. The best thing about Horiwind, though, and this was my favourite fucking thing about Horiwind as that went on, was that he admitted where his mistakes were. He knew that he didn't have a good performance at LAN. And that's the first step to correcting it, is to recognise what you did wrong and the fact that you recognise that you do struggle. Until you realise you were struggling and you try and put it down or play it off and be like, no man, it was a comps, no man, it was the rest of the team. Like, knowing your own performance suffered really helps you in the long run, and there's a lot of higher things for him to come because of that as well, I feel. And I think this team could go a lot further with it. Homie FA started to find his feet at the LAN as time went on there. Really got a lot of credit from EU as well, just so you know. Like, Homie FA was rated really highly from the European kids in terms of his performance at the LANs, and they actually think he's a very, very strong jungler. And we knew that already, you know. We knew that about North America already. Like, Anister was good and Homie FA was hot on his heels. And I tell you, if Homie FA can continue doing what Homie FA does right now, he'll surpass Anister as the best jungler in North America with ease. With ease. Because Homie's got a lot of potential. He's just young, he's nervous as well, and he's going to struggle with that a little bit. And ShadowQ and Vetium have started, continued that sort of partnership that they had for themselves in the duo lane. They know when to engage, they know when to disengage in lane matchups for the most part. ShadowQ's rotations to mid, just leave Vetium to farm off one more time. Vetium's not scared of a trade, and I think Vetium's a very good balance of the type of hunters you have in North America. You have and this isn't true anymore, just to be clear, but this is the one that everybody knows. It's the Zapman Barracuda, okay? Zapman was always known as Zapman's always known as the very aggressive hunter in North America. Like, overly aggressive, going into deep diving, wanting to fight every single time. And Barracuda was always known, for the most part, as being a very defensive, farm until late game and work with my team, and then when I'm in the team fight, I've got my items online, go crazy. That's what they both used to be known as, and Vetium actually fits right in between them. He's got the perfect balance of what you want in a hunter, of aggression and defense, actually very similar to Reels, who I'll give a lot of credit to. Reels from EU back in the day, rest in peace Reels. Yeah, he had the same sort of mentality. So, that's it now for you. Will they do well at LAN? Time will tell. LAN nerves and things. First time as a team at LAN as well, which is another thing which could make them suffer. But at least it's group stages, so they've got a good shot there as well. And then we'll move on to the top of North America, which is number 2 seed. There's a pool player on crack right there. And Jigs, Snoopy, Anister and Baskin, the super team of North America. Coming into this split, we saw the roster changes happen with Horiwind and Homie FA stepping down, but Yankee Jigs still got that synergy. Jigs probably the best support player, best mechanical support player in the world right now. I will say that hands down. Jigs has the best mechanics in support out of every single support. Sorry EU, I love you guys, but that kid there, Jigs, has the best mechanics in the support role. You don't need a lot of mechanics in the support role, just to be clear, but it does help a lot. And you can see that with some of the things that he does with Sylvanas and the likes and things like that. So, Snoopy Lannister joined this squad after Horiwind and Homie FA move on, replaced, whatever you want to call it here. Snoopy in the mid. Well, Snoopy's always wanted to play with, just so you guys know. Like, he wanted to go away from Hunter after playing with the COG Red Boys back in the day. And he always wanted to play mid. And then he joined the LG Boys and ended up not playing mid, but playing support, but not playing support, but playing solo, then getting shit on by everybody in the community and realising that he hated the role anyway, so he said, fuck it, I quit. And then he retired for the rest of that split, and he comes back again. And now he comes back again and he gets the role that he wanted originally, which is the mid lane. What's he shown in the mid lane so far? Well, pretty good consistency for the most part over here. Obviously his god pull's been very interesting as well as time's gone on, of what he's been able to do for this team. I should look through their rosters and things as well here, and the teams, you can see the notes I've made it here. Overlooked ALG. Well, it feels like they did. They're the one team that they actually lost to the whole split. Like, they only split with LG, but then that random drop against Allegiance is credit to Allegiance for their performance, by the way, because that was a fucking stomp by Allegiance. That was tasty. That was a lot of salty FP tears right there, I tell you that much. A lot of salty FP tears from a lot of fans on that one, because nobody would have expected that. But yeah, I think they overlooked him on that one. But going back to Snoopy anyway, like, this performance from this team has been very solid overall. Have I done my math right? Yeah, I'm just checking before chat goes mad at me again. So yeah, Snoopy's now back in the mid. Snoopy's in the mid lane, able to play Hunters, because why? Hunters are actually pretty good mid. The good old boys of Energy showed us that in Europe back at World Championships, if not a little bit sooner than that, and then other teams started to adopt it too. And when you have the ability of Snoopy and Met Yankee able to play those hypercarry mages in the late stages of the game too, and farm very safely in the lane, it allows Snoopy to transition into these Hunters, and you've got that double threat from the mid and the Hunter position as well, of having two hypercarries for the potential late stages of the game. Also, his mages have actually started to show through as well. Everybody at the start of the split was a little bit worried. I'll show you, hang on. I wasn't going to really do this, but I will for this one. Where is it? So, here you go. We look at how he's actually played in the mid lane this year. I actually think, may not have got this one completely right, I think I have though. But at the start it was like, Rama, Vulcan, Rama, and everyone's like, oh, here we go. Here we fucking go. All he's got is Rama and Vulcan. He's just going to play Hunters in mid lane the whole time. And then he went on the Giannis train, carried on winning, by the way, when he was doing this. And then he moved around as well. A bit of Kronos, a bit more Giannis. And threw in a little bit of Agni too, which shows that he's actually got some depth in terms of this as well as time goes on. So, good performance from Snoopy overall, and it's good to see him get some love back as well, because a lot of people were giving him shit, and I don't think it was very fair for a guy that doesn't main his main role. It's like you guys going into your casual games or your ranked games and calling AD carry and having to play support every game, and then your team BMs you for being bad, and you're like, guys, I don't play support that much. You made me play support. Well, that's kind of what happened to Snoopy last season, in all fairness to the Snoopster. And in the jungle, pretty consistent for the most part. Snoopy's had a pretty good time. Andy's has had a pretty good time overall, and I think Andy's just enjoying the game because of the team that he's around. He loves the team he's on, he has faith in his team, and that actually produces a little bit more from Anster, I feel. He still puts the team on his back at times, but he doesn't have to put the team on his back as much as he would have done in the past. He felt like I think he feels that he had to put the team on his back a lot, and a lot of people used to look at Anster as the star player. On this team, I don't think there really is a star player, unless, well, when I get to the final man here, Baskin. Probably, well, he is the best player in the world, from my eyes. The best player in the world is Baskin. I hate him. I absolutely hate him because he trolled my ranked game yesterday, and he went sol mid and went something like 0-15. But I hate him, but at the same time, he's probably the best player in the world. Above Adaptin, above EU. Baskin is the best player in the world. Fantastic player overall. He has some of the most insane GPM as time has gone on you've ever seen in life. GPM is crazy. His ability in team fights, his ability to judge situations. He's just a great all-around player. Only bad side about him is he's a troll, but that's fine, you know? You can be a troll if you're the best in the world. I guess I have to accept it. But if he trolls my ranked game again, he'll be banned. And if you ever find out that Baskin's been banned, then you'll realise that the reason he's not in the SPL anymore is because he trolled my ranked game some more. Overall, though, so, as my note said here, like I put next to it, is this really a super team? I mean, things kind of point to yes, right? Things kind of point to yes here. They came in, new team altogether. And that new team that's just come together, like, found that synergy so quick to go on this winning spree. This one allegiance setup, I don't know what was going on. Snoopy, I don't know. Snoopy had a snowstorm in Canada or something that he couldn't play or something like that. I don't know. And instead woke up on the side of the bed. And instead was dreaming and thought he was at LAN again and shit himself. I don't know. Maybe it was one of those things. But other than that allegiance loss, like, they do look really strong. They do look kind of like the Trig. If you remember Trig, when they first formed, that was before Panthera, Energy, Epsilon even existed, you know? Before that team even came on the map, Trig turned up and started doing the same thing that SoaR's doing. So it's a good sign of things in North America. Very strong team. They just got to make sure they stay this consistent, though. And they've got to watch dropping games like this. That's the key. Watch dropping games like this. And finally, and this is very funny to say finally, the #1 team, the first placed North American team. First place, guys. First place is Luminosity. What the actual fuck? What the actual fuck? Now, I'm not being funny, right? But coming into this split, I don't think anyone would have looked at this roster when, and this is just going to be, this is going to sound brutal, right? But it's going to be basically the rejects, and I'm not saying this in the politest way possible because I'll explain it too, but basically the rejects in a team with Barracuda, and they take #1. How the fuck? And when I say rejects, now let me break this down for why I call them rejects, okay? Because all these other players have been here for a reason, okay? When I call them rejects. Jeff Endler was originally kicked from Luminosity for Snoopy on Aninsta's orders. Oh, someone's playing that. Jeff was originally kicked from this team by Aninsta, and Barracuda had to make a decision so they could bring in Snoopy and Boosh to that squad. So Jeff has been kicked from this team. He's classed as a reject because of that, even though everyone loves Jeff. Xenotronics and Masked. Well, Masked couldn't find a frickin' home. Masked was going around, goes, hey guys, you got any spare jungle jobs? Y'all got any more of those jungle jobs? I'll take a jungle job. Ianic goes, no motherfucker, get the fuck out. And Mask's like, oh, okay. And he limps his way back to Denial. And what happens at Denial? Season ends, and even the Denial boys go, nah boys, peace. Get out, Mask, go find another jungle job. And then once again, Mask is like, hey guys, anyone got any more of those jungle jobs? And his buddies, Xenotronics, end up joining him on that one because obviously, you know, what happened with Denial. And they're like, oh yeah, got any mid jobs too? I can play Hunter as well. Like, you'll flex me around the map until you find somewhere that'll fit. And then eventually, these two ended up, LG were like, shit, man, everyone's playing together. Who the fuck is left? It's like, alright, we'll pick up Xenotronics and Masked. Then you've got Scary D. Now, Scary D is fan-fucking-tastic. I love this guy's drive. But Scary D is like, okay, just so you know the LG lineups, yeah? Now remember this? We'll go through it. LG. Solo lane originally. Omega. Omega disappears. Who's next up? The random Baskin. Fucking troll Baskin. #1 in the world, Baskin. Let's just remember I said that earlier on. Okay? And then, after the #1 in the world, Baskin, leaves to go play with his friends, they hire a new guy, and the new guy is Scary D. This guy had to fill Omega's shoes on this squad, then he had to fill Baskin's shoes on this squad. Poor fucking guy, man. That guy is amazing. Now, what I've heard about Scary as well is like during scrims and things, this guy is always learning, and you can see that in his gameplay too. This guy's coming on leaps and bounds in the solo lane, and like I said, solo lane, we spoke about Cope. Solo lane is a very fucking difficult position in North America. Overall, it's very, very difficult to play him. And Scary D has done a great job there. I have heard in scrims that they'll make things happen in scrims, guys. Like say, listen, no ganks in solo lane. We just want a 1v1. And basically, what that does is it teaches you so much more about what you can get away with, what you can't get away with. All about the laning phase and not having junglers ganking means that you have to learn to play from behind, play from ahead, play negative matchups, play positive matchups. When you're in a positive matchup, how much you can abuse that positive matchup and get yourself even further ahead. When you're in a negative matchup, how quickly you can actually make sure it's in a negative as well. So it's also that as well, and that allows it. Now go back to Xenotronics as well. Obviously, you know, we had a lot of changes here overall in terms of how this went down, but Xenotronics I think has a very good time of things. I think Xenotronics was fantastic. Went Hunter, joined a team, got moved to mid lane. That's basically Xenotronics' story. But what's that ability allowed him to do? Well, he used to play mid originally, then went to Hunter, then back to mid. So he's actually got the ability to play all the gods that you need to play in mid lane, hunters and mages, which gives even more dynamic to this roster again. If we actually look up the squad I was talking about earlier, I can't remember who it was now, but the ability to both play mages and hunters in the mid lane. SoaR is an example. Barracuda can play the Chronos, can play the Freya, doesn't really touch it too much, so can play the Sol, right, in that hunter role, which allows Trix to bring the hunters on board instead, and it makes things a lot better overall, and it allows it to be so much stronger in this team composition. And this is where the strength seems to lie, is having the ability for your hunter and your mid laner to flex, to be able to play hunters, to be able to play mids in the mid lane, and then have your hunters, your Barracuda style players, be able to play some of these mages that are hyper carries in the later stages of the game. It brings a little bit more variety to your team, and it allows you into a good position. Number one though, number fucking one. And that's why I wrote there as well. Fastest synergy growth out of all those teams. If we go through these teams like one more time here, you've got Randozos, obviously new team coming together, need to work on synergy. Enemy, I mean, they should have the synergy now, so we don't want to count them. Envy's a new team with new members. They're working on their synergy. It's coming along nice. Allegiance, another team that's working on their synergy. Denial, another one. SoaR, another one. Obviously, all top four teams here, all changed overall in terms of their team team chemistry and the members of their team. Now, because of that, Luminosity grew the fastest, and that's really impressive. They had the best growth overall, and it shows in their gameplay. Fantastic performance from them. I don't think it's a walk in the park for them now. I still think they need to keep this mentality up that they've got right now, and I think it's a really interesting balance how they've got Masked, who was like, I don't really feel that we're going to do very well here. I don't think we're going to do very well this split. Maybe we'll come like 4th or 5th if we're lucky. And that's why I kind of had him like 4th or 5th. But then you've got Barracuda the other one saying, no, motherfucker, we're going all the way. Barra would never say motherfucker. But yeah, no, motherfucker, we're going all the way. And Jeff's there in the back going, that's right, by the way, beads are down. Also, Sanctuary down. Also, I've got Hog. Also, I've just used Flop. Oh my god, his leap's down. And then with that, they actually get themselves number one. Congratulations to them. Now, for you guys at home as well, just before I conclude this episode of the North American edition, announcement on Wednesday, the patch notes will have the group stages for North America and EU. Now, those two group stages will allow, obviously, you'll see these 8 teams split into 4. Split into 4, I'm an idiot. Split into 2 and 4 teams in each group. And we'll announce those on Wednesday so you know exactly where everybody's going to go. And with that, that concludes North America. If you don't like it, you don't believe in my opinion, that's fine. But that's kind of a laydown of what actually happened this split. And if you don't believe me, fine. But results speak for themselves. And you can see the results there. Kind of tell you the story already of what happened this season. In the meantime, enjoy yourselves, and I'll see you all for the next magical time of SPL.